Hey GC,
What?
you like One Piece, right?
What?
You should do a video on One Piece games.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm a big fan of One Piece. A really big fan. But friends tend to be surprised when I tell them I've never played a One Piece game before. Thing is, out of the 30-something One Piece games that have been made, my country's only gotten about a fourth of them, and they come out with next to no marketing. I had no idea they even made One Piece games until a couple of years ago.
And now's a perfect time to play through as many of them as I can, starting with the first One Piece game we ever got in the States, One Piece Grand Battle.
You know what the best part of this box art is? The part of the show being depicted looks way better on the box art. Don't know why Luffy's so mad though. Is he mad at me, or is he just angrily jacking off to the fight scene behind him? Why is he staring deep into my eyes? Does he want me to jack off too? Guess we'll chalk it up to good old-fashioned American marketing, so thanks for that for kids. So this game is shit? Oh, sorry. I read ahead of the script. Let me roll that back. Grand Battle is an arena fighting game, and the last entry in a series the West never got. You've got 2 attack buttons, and each character has their own command list with combos and special moves. Not that you'll ever get to use any of their attacks, since Grand Battle does its best to stun lock you as much as it can. Every stage has an impossible amount of stage hazards. One stage in particular has lightning attacks that sweep across it, an NPC that randomly attacks fighters, and every stage has falling objects that can daze you on their way down. You can call in other characters to assist you, but they don't flinch or take damage when attacked. So there's so many things trying to hit you that your natural choice is to block, but block too many hits and your guard breaks and then this happens. And this game uses the 4Kids dub, which is infamous for and for being inaccurate, so dialogue like this gets pushed as a story.
Sanji, I want a fruit salad too!
Sorry, that's a special item just for Nami. I'll make you a box lunch.
I said fruit salad!
Battle! Fight!
And the items that pop up around the stage have nothing to do with One Piece, like beehives? I legitimately cannot remember a single episode where anyone was attacked by bees. But of course, bees. The biggest threat out in the open sea. So this game is shit? Can't believe I paid $20 for a brand new copy of this. Garbage. Grand Battle was actually one of 5 One Piece games Bandai published in 2005, 3 of which made it stateside. And if you're sitting there thinking, wow, 5 games from the same license in 1 year to satisfy a high-demand market? That seems excessive and likely to create some poor quality titles. You'd be half right. You see, a licensed game doesn't necessarily have to be anything special, so long as it's faithful to the material. Grand Battle isn't a good game or authentic. As a game enthusiast and as a fan of One Piece, it didn't satisfy either of those two sides of me. But it was at least a fighting game with characters from the show that had all their signature moves intact. You know what isn't representative of One Piece at all? Mini-games. This is One Piece Pirate Carnival, and it's a Mario Party clone. A bad Mario Party clone. The game map is a board of panels that players take turn picking, and while I could explain the winning conditions, I think the game gives us a very thorough rundown itself.
Yes! My crew will be #1! So Nami, how do I do that? Listen up! The one with the most panels wins! That's it!
That's it!
That's it!
Depending on what kind of panel is revealed, a minigame is selected from one of 3 categories, and whoever wins the minigame takes control of that panel. Now, in Mario Party, most minigames have 1 or 2 buttons you need to worry about, and they tend to always be the same 2 buttons, which means that no matter which minigame you have to play, you have the controls more or less memorized. In Pirate Carnival, every minigame uses 2, 3, 4 buttons, and they're not always assigned to the same actions. There's no practice mode to warm up in, and all the minigames only last about half a minute, so it's difficult to grasp the controls. And let's say you play long enough to get used to all the different control schemes and know what each minigame entails. These minigames suck! Sometimes they're too basic, like Where's Panda Man?
You found me. I'm impressed.
No, yeah, truly, I am a master of hide and seek. No one could have ever spotted a human-bear hybrid with giant pink heart-shaped nipples. And sometimes they're unfair and not fun, mainly the 1 versus 3 types. In this one, all you have to do is walk around in a circle, and if someone is in the circle when it closes, they take damage. Why? Who thought this would be fun? The panel system is even worse. Certain panels have duplicates on the board that are claimed in pairs, and if a panel you claim lines up with other panels you own, you can claim other players' panels that lie between them. Look at this one turn the computer player did. With one lucky guess, it steals most of my pieces from me, and it didn't even need to win a minigame to do it. All those minigames I won to claim those panels? Pointless. Even the opening cutscene is aware of how bad all of this is. We're, treated to an animated intro. But look what happens when the first shot of gameplay comes in. The game is ashamed of itself.
But never mind that. What does any of this have to do with One Piece?
There's no story, there's no particular explanation as to why the Straw Hat Pirates are teaming up with villains and competing against each other, and so there's no reason for this to have been One Piece related. Pirate Carnival is a prime example of a bad licensed game. You can swap the characters out for the cast of a different show and nothing changes in the transfer. It's like buying a special edition of Monopoly. The minigames stay the same, the board game stays the same, my disappointment stays the same. Even Mario Party has a story to explain why they're playing. You did less than Mario Party, video game. A story to explain the game's existence might sound like a small detail in the grand scheme of things, but it doesn't take much to satisfy the fans of the license you're using. In some cases, all you really need is a little bit of fan service. No, not that kind of fan service, but I'm gonna save this for later. About a year after Pirate Carnival, Bandai released One Piece Grand Adventure, a new and improved version of Grand Battle that had, you guessed it, an adventure mode. Grand Adventure has 6 different campaigns detailing the story of One Piece, has an additional type of fight where you battle multiple weak opponents to add some variety, and dials back the stage hazards and items that used to clutter up the stages and make fighting impossible in Grand Battle. Almost every fight has bonus conditions that when met can unlock additional assist characters, collectible items relating to the character you unlock them for, and extra costumes for your fighters. And since you can now select any of your crew members to do missions with, following series canon and choosing the appropriate character for that fight gets you unique dialogue and more unlockable items. All of these additions and improvements, along with incorporating the actual events of the show, don't just make Grand Adventure a better game, but make it an authentic One Piece game as well. It's just the bare minimum though. References and little details fans of the show didn't already know about wrapped around a serviceable game that's centered around the series. But even at the time, there was already a game that used the One Piece license to its advantage. On the same day Grand Battle came out, a GBA title simply named One Piece that was developed by Dimps was only released in the United States. It uses a slightly altered version of Grand Battle's box art that's still potentially disgusting. How about this? Does this turn you on, tough guy? It turns me on. It pleases me. One Piece, the game, is a 2D platformer with beat-em-up combat, and despite it being the handheld accompaniment to a shitty console game, it's surprisingly good. The platforming is built around Luffy being able to stretch his body. He can whip himself in different directions by grabbing onto poles or inflate himself to make use of wind currents. There's even item pickups that you can only grab by making a good jump and using your extendable arm to reach it on the way down. All the levels have multiple paths that you can freely travel back and forth through, and within them are collectible items and optional bosses, both of which increase your score, which unlocks new abilities for Luffy. You only have one attack button, but you can combine it with the D-pad for different moves, and some of them have added effects like a headbutt that also stuns enemies. It works, but has its limits. Some of the usable items you can pick up in some levels unlock secret areas, but the action to use them is mapped to one of your attacks. It's easy to accidentally use it and not even know you did until you get to where you needed to use it in the first place. And there's no guard ability, but that's what happens when your handheld only has 4 buttons. It's a shame this only came out in the States because it's absolutely a hidden gem for the Game Boy Advance. This is what a good licensed game looks like. It takes the main character's abilities, mixes it into the gameplay, and makes the game and the series it's based on inseparable. It's this kind of work that deserves to be acknowledged, which is why it's earned a space on my shelf. Of the 4 games we've talked about, you might have noticed that the last 2 have an emphasis on adventure more so than fighting, and that's a big reason for why they're better One Piece games. One Piece is a manga that's 838 chapters long, as of writing this. The anime has about 756 episodes, as of writing this, and the creator of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, hasn't slept for 900 years. As of writing this. But as big and expansive as this show about pirates fighting other pirates in order to achieve their dreams under a totalitarian government that stifles freedoms and treats people that want to change the status quo as criminals is, there's not a whole lot of fighting for the majority of it. I mean, fighting is still a central component. This is a shonen manga after all. But the show is more about conflicting ideologies and talks about serious issues like suicide and drug abuse. It explores the condition of human existence by quite literally traveling to parts unknown and meeting all types of civilizations. It's like Star Trek, but on water. That's why adventure games work well with One Piece, because the show is about adventure and discovery. It was a genre the games continued to adhere to with One Piece Unlimited Adventure for the Nintendo Wii. Unlimited Adventure has a lot going for it as a One Piece game. It's the first of the games released in the West that isn't just another retelling of the original story. It uses a visually different art style that I really like, and all the crew members have new outfits that are unique to the game itself that look great. And best of all, it's using brand new localization and voice acting that captures the original tone of the series almost perfectly.
What was that? You found something weird again, did you?
Neat, huh? You can't have it.
Everyone wave goodbye to 4 Kids and their shitty pirate rap. Bye-bye. No one's going to miss you. As a One Piece thing, Unlimited Adventure nails it. As a proper video game,
Not really.
the Straw Hats find themselves stranded on an island and their ship missing. To navigate the island, you have to use this blue orb thing.
It's a mystery jewel.
Yeah, that. The island is split into multiple areas that have magic seals hidden inside them, and the jewel acts like a beacon guiding the crew to their locations. Every seal requires the jewel to have certain components, and those components have to be at certain levels that the seal then consumes to break open, and to level those components, you need to gather items and feed them to the orb, which makes this a resource collecting game with crafting elements. Complete with a campsite you can upgrade with the same materials you can feed the orb, that then unlocks more levels for you to do the same thing in. The stages are saturated with materials and little else. You'll do more punching and kicking to clear away grass for items than you will fighting actual enemies. The platforming is stiff and unreliable. You never know whether or not you can make that jump, or if there's some kind of ability you haven't unlocked yet to let you get the distance you need. You can switch between the whole crew whenever you want, but they all have unique movesets that you can only unlock by defeating enemies, and you only start with a basic press A to attack move for all of them. Also, again, no guard button. For some reason, One Piece games hate the idea of blocking attacks. I don't get it. Unlimited Adventure is jank, it's meandering, it's broken my heart, and I can't find the materials I need to unlock the next level. But at the very least, it tried to deviate from the actual show and add some original elements that fans could get attached to. It serves as a prime example for what's possible with a licensed game. Not just a redo of what's already been shown, but an addition to the universe it's based off of. Bandai Namco must have seen the potential in that, because the developer, Ganbarion, made another game that came to the States that followed a similar idea called One Piece Unlimited World Red. Oh, there's a One Piece RPG for the 3DS that we got in between these games, but we're not going to talk about that one because I don't have a 3DS capture card. Also, it's fucking awful, apparently. Much like how Grand Adventure is a better version of Grand Battle, Unlimited World is the Unlimited Adventure formula done better. It's another original story that takes the Straw Hat crew to places they've been to in the show, but with the benefit of having crew members that weren't around before, and being a lot stronger. Instead of the sandboxish areas Adventure had, World Red's levels are more linear with deviations in the path to secret areas and optional places to grab materials. Yeah, you still have crafting elements from the first game, but things have been streamlined to make building things and upgrading items a lot easier. Materials don't clutter the stages, drop off of enemies more often, and appear in side quest challenges that you can participate in. The Straw Hats all start out with a fleshed out move list and can level up and equip strong words, which are basically quotes from the show, to gain stat boosts and special effects. The fighting is still a little stiff and lacks any proper flow, but you have a dodge button. It's not a block, but I'll take it. Everything plays quicker, smoother, the 3D models lose the cool purple shadows but still look great, and the localization is subtitles only. The original voice actors all reprise their roles, and while some performances aren't as strong as they are in the anime, you still get that classic One Piece humor.
世界一の科学者である俺の
ドラゴンの肉を盗んだのはお前か！
仲間を誘拐されたことに怒るもんじゃねえのか。あ、そうか。
あいつらをさらったのはお前か！
So finally, after so much mediocrity and garbage, adorable handheld platformer aside, Unlimited World Red turns out to be a solid entry in what was at the time a 16-year-old franchise. Skip Unlimited Adventure. Unlimited World is the better version of these games. Incidentally, Ganbarians developed a lot of One Piece games, including all but 2 of the ones we've talked about, so good job getting the formula right, finally?
But there's one more One Piece game, or game series really, that we have to take a look at because it naturally captures the action of One Piece.
So far, what we've looked at has done a fair job of capturing the spirit of adventure the show constantly wants to get across, but the core gameplay lacks an important trait: good combat. There's not a whole lot of fighting for the majority of it. Okay, yeah, I said that. That's why adventure games work well with One Piece, because the show is about adventure and discovery. Right, and that hasn't changed. The adventure elements are important, but at the same time, this is still a show where fighting acts as a plot device, and so far the fighting in these games has been okay at best. Enter One Piece Pirate Warriors. 3 to be exact. It's a Dynasty Warriors clone, and Dynasty Warriors combat is not the most innovative or at this point even unique concept, but this kind of gameplay is the perfect fit for One Piece. One Piece is a show where any one of the Straw Hats can fight hundreds of enemies at once with no problem. The fighting in One Piece doesn't take place in an arena or in a random hallway. Entire towns get turned into battlefields, and crew members are scattered across it doing their part to win. They don't fight alone either. They often fight in pairs and combine their abilities for more powerful attacks. And in the midst of the chaos running from one fight to the next is when they discover new things or find important items and allies that they bring into the fold. The Dynasty Warrior styled battles are exactly how fights play out in the show, and it does a fantastic job of capturing the important moments in the story. Every mission starts with a quick synopsis of the events leading up to the start of it. Cutscenes will play out entire scenes from the show almost wholesale in the middle of battles, and the side objectives reward you with additional dialogue and story elements. Yes, the adventure elements are restricted to what you can discover during missions, but the trade-off is an accurate and exciting depiction of the most climactic moments of One Piece. Add on encyclopedic galleries, a story mode that goes from the beginning of the series to one of the most recent arcs, and 30 different characters from the show that you can play as with different costumes to unlock, and you have the most fan service out of all of the games we've talked about. It's this that genuinely makes Pirate Warriors a standout licensed game. It's the only one of the bunch that manages to capture a great chunk of everything and deliver it in a well-made package. Now take this game and put it alongside the other 2 we've already talked about being good One Piece games.
What's interesting about Pirate Warriors, the 2D platformer, and World Red is that they don't play the same.
Yet they're all great at representing One Piece. There's not much to learn from going through 7 or 8 licensed games in the span of a week or 2, but if you broaden the scope and look at all of it together, you start to pick up on some interesting thoughts. I like to think that the people that made these games all had a different idea of what the show was about. One, because it justifies what I'm about to say, and two, because it reflects how people in general see things. One Piece, or any other show or book or movie or whatever, is something different for everyone. A show about self-discovery and exploration. A cartoon with goofy visuals and comedy. An excuse to watch anime characters fight each other and telegraph their attacks by screaming out the names. For some people, it's all three. We all take away different ideas from the things we consume, and therein lies the power of interpretation. The communication, the sharing it encourages, and the broadening of horizons that comes with it. The debate that it sparks between conflicting opinions, and the challenge it encourages every single person to take part in. For the sake of taking something away from playing a bunch of licensed games, because something has to justify the price I paid for them, look not at the quality, but at the variety. At the many ways something or someone can be seen as. At how strong or weak those opinions and interpretations can be given how they're presented. And then shed a tear when you realize that the best One Piece game the West has ever gotten is a fucking Dynasty Warriors clone.
Fuck!
And now for something completely different.
Yo!
No matter what, I can't stop from. Till I rise to the top, I keep. You can't shake my resolve if I'm. And so I won't. Let me lay it down, I'm Captain Monkey D. To be frank, I'm an average kind of MC. Weak shanties with a weak vocabulary, but I keep the flow going, stay afloat on the sea. Amass so much booty that they should call me King of the Pirates. That's pretty vulgar. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Bandits, monsters, pirates, and the Navy. Every damn one is a whole different crazy, but my crew can face them on the daily. 7 bad bitches and 2 clever ladies. Yeah, it is a matter of time to reach the end of the grand line, so join us in a countdown, please.